one of the things that frustrating to my ears when I hear brothers who are unmarried or recently married talking like they've got the game solved.
So what's the biggest misconception that you feel like you had pre-marriage that marriage actually slapped you in the face with and made you realise, oh snap?
I'll keep it real with you, bro. Like, I had two major misconceptions.
Go on.
Imran, you know, my whole life, I've never ever heard someone say what you just said.
I'll mention a story to you guys, yeah. There was a brother that came on, he's from America, right? He was like in his 40s, 50s, mashallah, well-to-do brother, making a lot of money, etc. And he came on, he's like, bro, my wife just doesn't listen to me. So for example, like what? Like Halloween, doing Halloween. He didn't go into details, but I think like...
Yeah, some guys, they marry Halloween, man. He will be like, maybe she'll change.
You know where this
You know what I mean?
A lack of self-awareness. I think every
That's
man
true, but
needs
naive.
to know himself.
Forget
first.
self-awareness, that's second. It comes from lack of self-respect.
Self-respect.
No, self-respect.
If you're watching this podcast, there's a huge chance that you have a good job, a nice amount of savings, but you don't know how to actually become wealthy. Well, if that's the case, let me tell you an incredible story, the story of Uncle Anwar, who was a working class guy like yourself, had a decent salary, Allahumma barik, some savings, but didn't know how to make massive amounts of passive income. Fast forward a few years, and today he's actually worth over $7 million. The $1 million question, and yes, the pun is intended, is how on earth did he do that with Allah's permission? The answer to that question is through the brother Sam Amin. You see, Sam's found a very uncanny and 100% halal and low-risk way of helping his investors turn $100,000 into 50% returns in just 2 years. And trust me, when I heard that first time, I was also taken aback and a bit skeptical. But I've never met someone who is so open with all of his case studies and all of his previous investors. He's literally got them on his website where you can go and get in touch with them yourselves and ask them and see if this is real. And trust me, I was as well, until I actually met his investors. I actually met them, guys that had a working class background that are now multi-millionaires, Allahumma barik. And he actually publicizes his investors online so you can get in touch with them, do your due diligence and do your homework. Now, this is actually an incredible opportunity for Muslims because the real estate space, especially the one where you make money, is riddled with haram. This is 100% riba free. It's not only riba free, it's hands free, which means that they will manage the project and the investment end to end. All you have to do is make sure that you have at least $100,000 ready to invest, liquid, ready to deploy within the next 30 days. If that's you, then you can go on the link below and book a call with him immediately. This opportunity with Allah's permission is real, and so is the window. So book a call with his team at the link below. Enjoy this podcast, and hopefully this could be your ticket to make that halal passive income. Assalamu alaikum.
Alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah, amma ba'd, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Brothers and sisters, welcome back to another episode of Chai with my Bhai. Arman, what's one thing that you expect to get out of marriage once you are married, inshallah?
In general, I look at my life as a macro. I want the woman to take care of the micro while I take care of the macro.
Oof. Well, explain.
So obviously little things that I personally don't want to think of, obviously my woman should be taken care of, right? But the most important part for me is her raising the generation after me. Because if you think about it, a woman isn't just raising your children. She's raising the generations much further down the line, right? She's going to raise my kids. Those kids are going to use those same traits that she taught later down the line and so on.
Can I ask you an honest question, yeah? That's a very, 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 very profound point. But when you, and I'm sure, like man to man, and I don't mean this in an inappropriate way, but I'm sure you've come across some sisters where you're like, possibly I would consider this woman for marriage, right? Or I would like to look into this woman for marriage. Do you have that at the front and center of your mind? Because I think this is a big problem with the youngsters, that they say that, like, okay, cool, I want a woman that's going to raise my kids great. But what does a woman who raised your kids great look like? More times they're just looking at her beauty, they're just looking at her figure, they're looking at her, you know,
I agree
assets.
with you. I agree with you. And obviously, you know, as men, that's what we're going to look for at the start, right? But then once you start speaking to those types of women, you later find out that they're not the right fit.
Okay.
And you have to...
So you've actively rejected women for not being right mother fits for the next generations that will come from your lineage, inshallah.
I mean, me personally, if a woman is really attractive, because I've had women that have been really attractive, But then once you get to know them and you know that they're not going to be the right fit for your children, they start to seem ugly.
What does it mean? You know, you say right fit for your children. Like, what does that mean? I mean, I've heard there's a saying that mentions marry a woman if you'd be happy for your daughter to be exactly like her.
That saying was Abbas's dad.
Abbas's dad, right?
Yeah.
I thought it was Abbas's dad, but I couldn't remember exactly. But what does it mean to you that if this woman is right to raise my children?
I mean, I personally am not going to use the traditional school system, right? And I'm going to want my wife to homeschool my children. I want to make sure they know everything from the deen in terms of everything A to Z. Just etiquettes, right? The way I was raised, the way my sisters were raised. I want them to, you know, be the best version of themselves, right? And I want a wife that can do that. I want a wife that's disciplined, right? She doesn't wake up late. She doesn't have a bad diet. She eats good food, first of all. And everything that I do, basically, I want her to kind of reflect off of me, right? So she can handle the micro while I'm handling macro.
So let me ask you another question. Do you feel like marriage will have a big impact on your life? Or do you feel like it's, you know, like, imagine you're a train. Do you feel like marriage will cause the direction and trajectory of that train to change? Or is it just there's a passenger getting onto the train and the train is still going in the same direction?
100%, because I can't...
Which one?
That she's going to make or break a man. A woman can make or break a man.
So you feel like your life will drastically change after marriage?
100%.
Okay.
And you can ask any big entrepreneur, they'll say the same thing.
Nothing can break a man.
I heard a... Okay,
Okay, listen to this. If you're...
Brother, you need to check yourself before you wreck yourself.
Let's say... Okay, listen up. Can you build your empire, or like, let's say you're at war, you're building an empire,
Okay.
but you know that your kids in the back end, they're not being raised properly, right? That's going to affect you from building your empire.
Look, a lot of what you said so far has merit. But many guys, they compromise on who they can marry, worrying about how their kids will be raised. Do you get what I mean? So they make some compromises. So like you said that, and I agree with you, when you said that there are some extremely beautiful women that when you imagine how they would possibly raise your kids, and when you imagine that, you see that they won't raise them in a moral way, their beauty fades. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I agree with you on that. But also we need to know is that our kids, at the end of the day, no matter who we marry, their guidance, and we do our best, but it's in Allah's hands. How many of us, like for me, for example, my parents, they weren't religious, so to speak. And I started to pray at 19 when I was in London, of all places, in university. Mm-hmm. And then some of the guys who I were with, they were raised by practicing Muslims. Mm-hmm. And then when I started to pray, they're doing coke.
No, but actually, definitely the rule of thumb is that you marry a woman. Umar ibn Khattab says from the rights that the child has, that you marry a woman who's going to be a good mum. And some of the ulama actually mention that the right of the child begins before the right of the parent. We know how great the right of the parent is. But the right of the parent begins once the child is born. Once the child hits like puberty. But the right of the child is before the child's even born.
I was going to say that.
But the point you're making is true in the sense that it's already written whether you will be guided or not, how you'll be guided. But the point is, we still tie our camel. It's like someone can't come and say
you put in the input. Allah takes care of the output.
It's like, you know, these days people say, "Oh, my rizq is written, so I don't need to work."
Yeah.
No, brother. Get back to work.
Absolutely.
You need to work, and the rizq will come to you. So I understand your point, and I feel like you were going to come to that anyway. I feel like that was your next point.
Was he?
Yeah.
It didn't sound like it.
No. So let me be clear. All I'm saying is you need to marry a woman who's going to be an amazing mother for your child and raise her Islamically and morally correct. But you don't take an L on the other areas. Some guys, they do that.
So.
You know, you wait until you find the one that will be an amazing mom and an amazing wife.
So let me ask another question now, yeah? These brothers are, mashallah, very young.
Yeah.
They're very successful. Allahumma barik to you guys. And they're doing their thing, right?
Yeah.
How long does one wait for the perfect one to come along that ticks all the boxes? Because if you're at an age where, you know, you need to get married.
Well, that's why you need a huge funnel.
You know what the issue is, Bakr,
Go on.
is, and I can relate to my brothers. I'm not saying that for these brothers because they're pretty software, Allah Mubarak, but I'm sure you guys can also attest to the fact that brothers who are unmarried, unexperienced with marriage, or inexperienced with marriage, there's a lot of delusion on their part. Like I've one of the things that is so jarring, man, and frustrating to my ears is when I hear brothers who are unmarried or recently married giving married advice or talking like they've got the game solved. I think what's imperative is that brothers who are inexperienced, they cling on to someone who's actually clocked the marriage game and say, Akhi, like, show me, mentor me, counsel me, maybe even be present in the marriage meetings.
Brother love.
Brother love. Truly.
Who's brother love? Your brother love?
Brother love.
That's what they used to call you back
That's
in the
what I
day.
used to call.
That's what he used to call himself. Speak to me, brothers. I'm brother love.
Oh my god!
No, but truth be told, because I'll be honest, Akhi, when we got involved in this game, we got involved all wrong, Akhi. I had no idea, bro. I remember.
So what's the biggest misconception that you feel like you had pre-marriage that marriage actually slapped you in the face with and made you realise, oh snap?
I'll keep it real with you, bro. Like, I had two major misconceptions.
Go on.
One that came from this flower da'wah, which was that, oh, you just gotta, treat your wife like a queen and take everything that comes your way because she has a period. Allah tests her with a period, so take all the drama, brother, because she goes through hell. All right? That's the first thing. The second thing was, I can't lie, man. I really did think, not that I ever watched Bollywood and, these romance kind of things, but I fell victim to that whole Hollywood narrative of what marriage would be like. I thought it would just be nice. Like, I thought it would just, you find these brothers all the time, I want to marry a friend. I never forget one brother was in a car with us one time and he was like, I want to marry a brethren. I want my wife to be my brethren. I want her to be my friend. I said, it doesn't work like that, brother. It doesn't work like that. You know what I'm saying? Because you're going to be in close proximity with someone who's completely different to you. Completely different gender, number one. So biologically, she's different. Psychologically, she's completely different. She spent her whole life with certain behaviors and habits. Some subtle little things are going to flip you guys left, right, center. These small things cause massive issues.
So let's go back to the first misconception that you mentioned, right, which is the issue of the menses. So what do you believe is the correct way now to approach it?
No, look, of course you have to be merciful to your wife, right? You have to be merciful. But at the end of the day, bro, a man's a man and he cannot tolerate. Look, me and Zarir will be able to concur on this fact that we kind of started practicing at a time where a lot of the people that were du'at and teaching Islamic education were under pressure from the liberal movement. That was very pro-female, does that make sense? And very anti-man. So we grew up or came into marriage with the false concept that, listen, brother, she's the queen, you're her servant. They didn't say it in that way, but that was the point. That's really fundamentally what you wanted. I saw a video the other day. We saw a video of some brother, I won't mention his name, he's a sheikh/da'i from America. He started a video about, the video is about how to reconcile a problem. How a man should tolerate his wife's bad behavior. The video starts off with, if your wife, it's something like if your wife is rude to you, then, take a deep breath, blah, blah, blah. I get it, bro. You're not going to go crazy and break down the house if your wife is off. But at the same time, the way the framing was as if it's acceptable rude, boy. Brother, it's never acceptable for your wife to talk to you like that. So this is a fundamental framework. You need to go into a marriage.
So how do you reconcile that with statements like, I'm trying to think, I've heard things like, I'm not sure if it's an athar or what, but like,
I know what you're going to say.
For example, like if my wife comes with 10 mistakes, I'll hold her to account for 1 and forgive the remaining 9.
Possibly. No, look, that's taghaful. That's a great characteristic, right?
Does this apply to the first cycle? Or is it just in general?
What do you mean by first cycle?
Like, because women are on their menses, right? Their first cycle is usually when their estrogen is the lowest with their progesterone. And
100% you need to be conscious of knowing your wife's menstrual cycle.
This guy knows his menstrual cycle.
He sells drugs, bro.
Yeah, he sells drugs.
No, definitely, look.
He's in the pharmaceutical industry.
That's a very good question. I'm going to come to that. But the point that you just mentioned, right? I'm not saying also be the other extreme, which is be a dictator.
Tyrant.
Be a tyrant. Definitely not like that at all. What you just talked about is taghaful. Taghaful means to be intentionally heedless of someone's mistakes. Okay, Allah Azza wa Jal, He mentioned that we have done so many sins. And if He was to hold us to account for all the sins that we've done, what would happen? He would destroy us. Allah said, وَيَعْفُ عَنْ كَثِيرٍ, but I forgave you for most. But even when Allah Azza wa Jalla does punish, He doesn't punish us for everything that we've done. He punishes us for what? Some of what we've done. When you look, Imam Ibn Qayyim mentioned that Allah Azza wa Jalla loves for you to actually try your best to be in line with Allah's characteristics. Of course, there's no comparison between Allah's characteristics and you, but the things that Allah loves, you should try your best to manifest them on your limited human level. So it's good to ignore some things, but here's the thing you don't ignore. The red lines, the unnegotiables. And brothers need to know what the unnegotiables are, what the red lines are. And there's going to be unnegotiables in terms of the deen. Then there's going to be unnegotiables in terms of what? In terms of you yourself. You know one unnegotiable that, wallahi, at the beginning, some of us let go. And then it takes years to get it back. Is allowing your wife to look at you in the eye and outright disobey you once. For a woman to look at you, for you to say to her,
That's deep.
Put context to a side. Yeah, put context to a side. I'm just talking about the point, right?
The general rule of thumb.
Yeah, a man looks at a woman and he says, do this, or we are doing this.
I'm not going to do it.
No, and I'm saying for that to happen, and you to just, what? No. I'm saying the first time that happens in your marriage, you need, a point needs to be made of that, which is like, what did you say?
Imran.
She has to feel the burn. Okay, not literally, don't burn your wife, stuff like that. I mean, she has to realize that she has just crossed the line.
Imran, my whole life, all the lectures that I've listened to, from the beginning till today, I've never ever heard someone say what you just said.
Really?
All those marriage lectures, I've never ever heard someone say what you said. What did he just say? He said the biggest mistake that almost everyone makes is what?
Letting it slide.
Letting your wife, who you love, who you married, look you in the eye, and
who you provide for,
who
you give her food,
yeah,
you give her shelter,
who you will take, no, who you will take a bus for, who you will get hit by a bus, you push her. If there's a bus gonna hit her, you push her out of the way.
Who you give her
a bus for, take the hit.
Who you give her ecstasy in the bedroom.
Yeah, that too.
I was going to say
to you. You see, but I've never heard anyone say this. This is while you were talking. I was saying to myself, subhanAllah, I said this before. You always come with what should be said, but it's never said.
Before we jump back into the podcast, I need to share something with you that changed everything for me. Last year was one of the hardest years of my life. My health was at an all-time low. I had constant fatigue, brain fog, massive weight gain. My marriage, it was the hardest year of my married life. My business, I had setback after setback. Even my salah was suffering due to the lack of khushu' and my seeking knowledge. I was in a terrible place until I sat down with the Muslim entrepreneur coach on this podcast, namely Brother Fawaz. And he made a bold claim. He said, I help Muslim entrepreneurs make 10x more money whilst working 4 times less, at the same time showing them how to thrive in their marriages, in their health, and in their religion. Truth be told, it was a bold claim. I wasn't entirely convinced, but what's a man to do when he's desperate? I needed a solution. So I joined his Live by Design mentorship. And I can swear to you by Allah, it changed everything for me with Allah's permission. I am now making more money than ever before. I am also working less. In fact, I work very few hours, but the Live by Design program has showed me how I can get a week's worth of work done in just a few hours every single day. I feel healthier than ever before. I'm turning up better than ever before. My family is happy with me, and my salah is back. And my seeking of knowledge is thriving with Allah's permission. And just to be clear, I'm not the only one. One of Fawaz's mentees on his program was making just 13K a month while struggling in his life. Just 6 months later is doing $500,000 a month. Allah barik. So here's the truth. If you're a Muslim entrepreneur that's making at least 100K every year, but you know that you're operating far from your actual potential and these other areas of your life that are very important are struggling, then Fawaz's Live by Design mentorship might just be the thing for you. But please be warned, it's not easy, nor is it cheap. But if you're ready to live a life that you design with Allah's permission, then check out the link below in the description of this video. This is the program that changed my life with Allah's permission. And it might just change yours as well, inshallah. With that said, let's get back into the podcast.
I'll mention a story to you guys, yeah? When we were on the Brothers Club we did back then it was the Bakr Club, right? There was a course or a live or it was something on how to
make your wife obey you.
How to get your wife to obey you, right? And there was a brother that came on, he's from America, right? He was in his 40s, 50s, mashallah, well-to-do brother, making a lot of money, etc. And he came on, he's like, bro, my wife just doesn't listen to me. So for example, like what? It's like Halloween. It's like, I'll tell her, like, we're not doing Halloween.
On Halloween?
He didn't go into details, but I think like when it comes to celebrating, I think Halloween, Christmas, all these other things, which is a huge grave sin, like from a religious perspective. Like it's you're getting involved in something which is shirk.
It's the Eid of the shaitan.
Exactly,
Yeah, literally.
And she was like, no, but it's something minor and this and that, whatnot. And so then Imran was like, so what happens if you tell her no?
I'm so sorry. Is the guitar in shot?
No.
Okay, alhamdulillah.
And when we got to the root of it, because he was like, look, actually, I don't know, what did he say? She threatens to leave,
Yes,
or something, or she goes to her parents' house, or she gets upset, she doesn't talk to him, whatever, blah blah blah. So then we got back to the root of the issue, which was, bro, did you at the start when you first got married, did you lay any boundaries? He said no. He said, was there anything that you said no, you're not allowed to do that, or no, this is? He's like, no, I didn't. So that's where it stems from. Let me ask you guys a question, yeah, because we live in a day and age, right, where I feel like there is a lot of opposite gender sentiment. Like, I feel like people come into marriages almost like expecting it to break down. It's like taking precautions as if like, you know, like a woman will come into the marriage saying, I need to have a safety net. I need to have a degree. I need to have this. I need to have this. I need to have this, because if this doesn't work out, a guy will be thinking, a guy will be thinking, you know what, she's a gold digger. I need to be careful. I need to do this. I need to do this. I need to do this, and all these other things, right? Like, people are coming into marriages now actively with this concept of, I need to be careful of this other person, right?
Where it wasn't like this before.
It wasn't like this before. It was not like this before, right? When you talk about our parents' generations and their generations, and to death do us part and whatnot, and they'd have children straight away, and like married life starts and that's it. Like, there's no.
Do you have that mindset, Fawaz? Do you feel, are you, when you come into marriage, are you feeling like, wait, this actually might not work? Let me start taking precautions. Let me have an exit plan. Let me shut the fire door is available. There's a staircase outside in case the building's burning. I need to run out.
Yeah, I think one thing that will always motivate is anytime a situation happens, the first thought in the mind is going to be like, yeah, this is exactly what I prepared, all right? Or this is the problem. And you start to, a lot of the times when you think of a situation so much, you live in a way that causes that situation to become true. And this is what we see. But really, can I blame the sisters? I believe it comes from the men. When you look at how mothers and fathers raise their daughters today, it's almost in a way where you need this. Why? Just in case.
Yes,
right?
yes.
So this just in case mentality, you see a lot of the times it trains the sisters to think, you know what? This guy could actually marry another woman and then not care about me, and then I'm going to have to protect her, or he could just divorce me at any stage. So they have already come to marriage with this sort of mentality, and that's so destructive, right? But again, this comes from, again, parents putting their failures of their relationship on their daughter, right?
100%.
And they teach their daughter based off of the bad experiences that they had in their marriage. And we see this all the time with mothers. Like, yeah, get an education, because if I had an education, your father wouldn't have treated me like X, Y, Z.
So let me ask you a question, yeah, on that note of the parents not preparing their daughters for marriage properly, yeah? So you, Alam Badik, are obviously a prize for a lot of women. Matter of fact, Alam Badik, right? MashaAllah, tabarakallah. You're handsome.
I said that.
Yeah. Do you fourth that?
Fourth.
I think that as well.
There's a number missing. We added one accident.
No, that's a dyslexia. There's five of us. There's five of us. Don't worry.
My bad.
It's fine. It's like.
Mr. Blue. Listen. You're good looking, brother. Allah barik. Right? You do well for yourself financially. Allah barik. MashaAllah. You're on your deen. You know, you do Muay Thai, you ride horses, you gallop with Arabian.
No. He trots.
Huh?
He trots.
No, he gallops as well.
No, we established that.
We do
Trotting is above galloping.
Okay. And you've obviously had the opportunity to look at some prospects, but you've still not found the one that you feel is the one. Why? Like, what's missing in the women that you're coming across that you feel is not allowing you to be like, let me take the plunge with this one?
Okay. The first thing for me is the size of the mission. I want to do great things, right? I want to achieve great things. I think you can't compare how an average man who wants average things in life, how he goes about finding a spouse versus a man who wants to build and conquer. There's a complete difference. And I think we actually have to clarify to the audience, if you're an average man, you should probably just click off after the first 5 minutes of the video. We're not talking to you. Go settle. And I feel sorry for her just as much as I feel sorry for you, right? There's nothing special to either of you. But if you're a man who genuinely understands that as men, you're here to conquer, you're here to build, you're here to do something great, then yes, you do have to be a bit more particular about who you marry, right? And fundamentally for me, there's only one key trait I care about above all of them, all right? And that's coachability. A woman has to be ready to be coached. Look, alhamdulillah, I've experienced a lot, right? I spent the last 4 years of my life traveling, and although maybe I'm not very old, especially when you travel, you grow a lot, right? We've been to different cultures, different countries, different people, different experiences. You kind of learn things a lot quicker than the average person. So I've seen a lot of life, is my point, right? Again, the clients I deal with, I've seen that the biggest thing that stops a man from reaching his full potential a lot of the time is being married to a high maintenance partner, right? So for me, those are the only two things I care about. Is she coachable, and is she relatively low maintenance? Right? Someone who's high maintenance, I know I can't deal with that.
What do you mean by high maintenance and low maintenance?
Good question, right? So some women...
I like the coachable point.
So some women, like, again, all women need validation, all women are emotional, but some women are genuinely narcissistic. They're narcissistic. They view themselves as the most important part of the equation, right? Even I don't view myself as the most important part of the equation. My mission, wallahi, uqsim billah, is more important than me. So how can she view herself more important than me and the mission?
I feel like that's a general trait for men, though.
I swear about Allah, there's one thing that I wanted to say at the beginning, and I really want the brothers to take this, right? Especially for the brothers that consider themselves to be men with unnegotiables, who are on missions, wanting to build and conquer. Any woman that you're trying to marry, no matter how apparently obedient and sweet, and I'm going to stand by your side she comes, at the beginning, make sure you get her actually checked if she's a narcissist or not. Because narcissists are great. I don't know. I don't know.
I'll tell you.
No, one second. No, you know what? No, I'm saying this.
We'll leave Zarir's phone number in the comments.
My point is, there's tests online that might not be accurate. I would do it properly.
How?
Shall I tell you what I would do? I would even maybe tell Gabriel, I would book a call with Gabriel Romani and say, talk to this girl for me. Just vet her for me. I just identify from your experience any issues that she might have. For example, go to people that are experienced. Go to Zarir, for example. The reason why this is important is because narcissists, men and women, they're great at presenting themselves as amazing, merciful, supportive people. But bruv, if you marry a narcissist, rude boy, and it's game over for you.
But is there not an element pre-marriage? You can never really know someone, bro. Even if you're on a call for one call.
There are tests.
Guys,
not
this is the
deep
problem,
down, bro.
No, you can know. This is the problem.
Within the confines of the Sharia?
Yes.
Go on.
This is the problem. This is the problem. People, they don't realize that there is a way to vet, check both spouses. Women check the man, men check the woman.
Go on.
They just don't do it. What do?
Kill the dog.
They meet her online. Shout out to Abbas at Sunnah Match. Okay. And then maybe one, two.
Shout out to Gabriel Romani as well, Nikagram.
Straight to the money.
Absolutely. And then what happens? Maybe a few meetings. God knows, some of them maybe like 2. And then they tie the knot straight away. You get what I mean? Yeah, Sheikh. You can do what the Emiratis do. What do the Emiratis do? The Emiratis, they do the nikah between the husband and the wife, and they don't allow them to consummate the marriage. This is like the courting period. There's a difference between the nikah and the wedding. You get what I mean? So the nikah is done for everybody to vet the other party, for the girl to be sure that this is the guy that she wants to have children with and spend the rest of her life with, and for the guy to do the same. You get what I mean? But outside of the Emiratis and some other Khalijis, like in the ends, they don't do this. Look, you get what I mean? They just rush into it.
Look, technically, when someone's married, it's halal for them to consummate and be intimate. There's no problem. But I agree with the principle, which is that sometimes it's just get the nikah done, and let them live separately. Or, akhi, there's one thing that the Prophet ﷺ taught us that, wallahi, I believe is the most surefire telling way to understand what the woman's like, and we don't do it. It's to go and ask about her. To ask about her. The issue is we don't ask the right people and we don't ask the right questions.
Who's the right people and what are the right questions?
So, her friends, her family members, her mom, her dad. And by the way, you know when I ask them, I'm going in there assuming they're going to lie.
Yeah.
I'm going there assuming that they're going to what? That they're going to present her in the best possible way.
So what do you do?
So you ask tough questions, right? You ask tough questions. You ask indirect questions. You sometimes what's the word?
Bro, that won't work.
You ask.
Why-
I'll tell you why that won't.
Sometimes you ask the same thing in different ways.
Yeah,
And
same thing in different ways.
This is for me one of the best ways that I've seen. Right. So I'll literally make sure they catch them to like catch them out in a way. Right. So again, you're asking, but you're asking some important questions, but you're being vague at the start, and then you become more direct as you go on, and then you drop back to being vague.
Sometimes
And
sometimes you can even pretend that you
want something.
You want the opposite
of what you're actually
asking
Well, it
to get
works.
them to slip up.
Yeah.
So for example, I might cut.
This sounds mad complicated.
This is an extreme example, but let's just say I want to know if she's obedient or not. I'll come with, I actually don't want a wife who's too agreeable. I want a wife who is going to question me and push back. Yeah, and then they're like, you want that? Yeah, she was.
Isn't that lying?
Say that again?
Isn't that lying?
No,
No, because there's going to be an element of truth, right? Because you do want a woman to not agree when it comes to sins. You do want a woman to push back if you're doing something wrong. So there is an element of truth to it, but you position it in a way
That's not
where
lying.
you're
That's
trying to get them to
I'm
what?
not gonna lie. One really effective method I've seen.
I'm
is
so
sit
sorry
with
to
the
cut
father.
you. Just very powerful. But sit with the mum too. I could just look at the mum. The march, but is the biggest. Is going to be one of the biggest indicators of what this woman is like.
Brother, you know why?
Just look at her.
Everything that you said, it's great, it's gold, but it applies to guys like you. You guys, you're not naive. You're not the average naive
can't
Muslim.
help them, guys.
For the average, you know what's gonna happen with the average naive Muslim? No, brother, we gotta help those guys.
You have to go to Abu Lahya. Abu Lahya and Ammar, they've got the patience with them.
No,
Abu Lahya and Ammar have the patience with them.
brother, you know, this is for them. For them, you know what will happen? They will do what they will. Let me tell you what will happen. They will take your questions, ask the sister. Let's say she will not hide it. She'll be open. She'll be like, I'm disobedient. The guy is so naive and so desperate and so wanting to get married. Yeah. He will be like, maybe she'll change. He will lie to himself.
You know where this comes from?
You know what I mean?
A lack of self-awareness. I think every
That's
man
true, but
needs
naive.
to know himself
Forget
first.
self-awareness, that's second. It comes from lack of self-respect.
Self-awareness is first.
Self-respect. No, self-respect.
Okay, but a guy needs to be self-aware
but the
enough to
flower-
understand that he's lacking self-respect.
Okay, we're saying the same thing. We're saying the same thing. I'll tell you a story. Okay, I'll tell you a story. There's a sister.
Just to finish, before you say the story, what I wanted to say is that's why brothers, but Maryam, listen, that's why I told you, what you guys are saying, that's why brothers, they need to have that courting period. You know why? So that they see it for themselves. It hits them in the face like, my God, no, I need to run.
But I can imagine a lot of them would have that
But go
courting
on.
period, it hit them in the face, and then they're still desperate.
You think so?
Yeah,
What is
100%.
for me,
Or they end up roasting, and before you know it,
yeah, I can
there's
see
a
brothers
baby.
having some cost fallacy, right, with that. Oh, we've already got the nikah done.
Might as
I
well.
may as well just firm
And
it.
there's a guilt
I don't wanna have
involved.
to
In
change
these
everything.
Pakistani
Khalas.
cultures, like me and you've seen, they do like 50 weddings, right?
Yeah.
And then at the end, they'll see those signs, but they'll still go through with it. It's
because,
crazy.
because we've spent like 50 grand on the wedding, so it's like, bro,
mad.
this is an investment, bro.
What were you gonna
You
do?
gotta make it work.
Paki, Mangani, Mendi, other Mendi,
It's mad.
No, but can I make this point?
Ruksati,
Go on for us.
Vadima.
Because I really need to say this. I think one of the biggest problems I see is men don't know themselves. They don't know what they need. Shuf, all of us are different, right? In our different ways. Even all of us here on the panel are different. Maybe we're not all going to work with the same kind of woman. It's important for us to understand what traits we need that align with ourselves. A lot of the men I meet, they don't know anything about themselves. Yeah, I just want a good girl. No, what certain things that really jar you? Like for me, that could be something small. For me, he doesn't care about it. Like for me, don't call me by my first name. It makes me uncomfortable. I don't like it. Bismillah, right? Call me anything, but don't call me by my first name.
What do you want her to call you?
Yeah.
No,
call
from
me
brothers
anything.
or women?
Sir.
What?
From, as in you don't want brothers to call you first name?
No,
or
my
women?
woman. Of course.
What do you want her to call you?
I
Sir,
don't
sir.
care. I can't reveal it.
Master.
Abu Sa'id.
Sir.
I think she should call you sir, or she should call you Sayyid, or she should call you Malik. You know why?
Why not?
Because, wallahi, akhi, the Sahabiyat used to do this. The Sahabiyat,
Then you need the Moroccan.
the wives.
They do that.
They say to Ya Sayyidi. I think it was the wife of Abu Darda radiallahu anhu, or one of the Sahaba. She said, if the women, she goes, the way the women talk to their husbands today, we would never talk to our husbands like that. We would say, Ya Sayyidi.
And that was 1400 years ago.
My master.
Yeah, but
my king.
Listen.
What is my husband? Is my husband, no?
Yeah, but he's old
My
school.
husband as well, great.
Yeah.
Right?
No,
My
but you
husband,
know why I love that though? Because it
Imagine-
creates a gap. You don't call your dad by his first name. You don't call your sheikh by his first name.
Did your
It
mom
creates
call
a
her
gap.
dad by her first name?
Exactly.
They
My
say
mom doesn't call my dad by his
or-
first name.
or-
It
that's
creates,
true.
when you don't call somebody straight away by name, you've created a barrier. There's a gap there. You know there's some sort of level of respect I hold to
Call
this
me
person.
sir, call me
That's
boss.
for me.
And you know what happens? Because I've seen it happen. I've seen it happen, yeah. I've seen it happen even in like.
Bunch is kind of
Don't cut that out.
You gotta have like the filtered version for YouTube, then the unfiltered they gotta pay for it.
I've seen it happen in father-son relationships where where they get too friendly, and then the son does something, and the father reprimands him, but then he's like, "I thought we were boys."
He's like, bro.
Yeah, it's like, bro, like, what do you mean? Like, what do you mean? And then it's like, as you said, there has to be
A barrier.
There has to be the barrier. There has to be the gap. People think, oh no, but we're supposed to be best friends and this and that. And as you said, that's the corrupted
You're
version.
indoctrinating me, bro. You
Don't
indoctrinating me,
allow
bro.
it. No one calls this a apart from the brothers, man. I'm telling you,
Oh, it's
I
done.
really hold this belief strong.
Even we don't even we call it Sheikh, Abu Kada,
Exactly.
or
Maryam,
Between, that's what my point. Yeah. You know, I said to one, don't ever call me by my first name. Even my team don't call me by my first name. There's a gap. My own brothers, it's like yo, bro, Ak, Sheikh. You know, not that I'm a sheikh, but we throw these terms.
it's actually
in order
adab
for
in the
what?
Arabic
For
language.
respect.
It's adab in the Arabic language that you call a man, you say
By his kunya as
Abu
well.
something. You call him by his
Exactly.
kunya.
Yeah, don't call me by my first name.
Okay, we need some solutions right now. So Ammar. Ammar.
Now, guys, they're gonna be
Sorry,
watching this.
Arman.
Bro, guys, they're gonna be watching this. They're gonna be going home to their women, to their wives. Then the wife is gonna be like, "Hey, Jafar," and he's gonna be like, "Don't call me by my first name."
Call me Iron Man. Call me Iron Man.
Hey, some freakish stuff.
That's a lie. That's a lie right there. You know? Oh my god.
Look. He's gonna do it. I know he's gonna do it. Call me Batman. Look. Seriously, brothers, one thing you have to understand is that the worst thing you can do is just go home and just implement everything that we just said. It's not gonna work. For you to go home.
It's a long-term play.
Yeah. If you've messed up already, to go home and implement, I promise you're gonna end up on the couch or on the porch. That's right. Your wife is gonna put you on the couch. It's like,
That's why you get a new one.
no. I'm talking about the ones who don't already do it.
Oh, okay.
Right. But what really this conversation was more so for brothers that are pre-marriage. Do you understand? So they can kind of start thinking. Because I can I be real with you? A lot of problems are hard to solve after you've already made a mistake.
Yeah, it's true.
It's like parents would come to us and say, look, my kid's doing drugs 17, 18. I'll say, bring it. You should have brought it to me when he was 10. Auntie, I told you, bring him to the masjid when he was 10. And you were like, no, he's got exams. Right now you're telling me he's got drugs in his mouth. Likewise, it's happened too many times. Brothers will make the mistake and then now you're a couple kids with her.
Yeah,
and I don't fix those problems. I can't
Go to a scholar and get specific fatwa for your specific situation for that.
But what I think right now is what we need is solutions.
Prevention
Remember,
is better than
the whole issue here, the discussion here is young men or even old men, right, who are looking to get married. What is it that they should be looking for, right? And right now, I want to always mention we're talking about exceptional men. Exceptional men require exceptional circumstances, situations, exceptional women. Do you understand? So let's give solutions now, inshallah ta'ala. So Arman, let's start with you, bro. Because remember, the reason why I like your perspective is because you're talking to women, not in an inappropriate or haram way, but
You're in that process.
In that process. And you've come across women that you've exed, right? So what is it that they didn't have and what should the men be looking for? What should the men be looking for? And then we'll all, share a little something.
I think it's just obedience. I think that's like the high level overview. Obedience, right?
How do you measure that? Or how do you ascertain whether she's obedient or not?
From when you say something to when it gets implemented.
Pre-marriage. In the marriage meeting, what are you going to tell her? Stand up.
Oh, I've got the perfect question.
Go on.
The perfect question. This question is the killer.
The case study. If I was to tell you to do something,
This question that I have right now.
Hold on.
This question that I have right now is the killer.
Let's go.
Okay, this is the question. You guys ready?
should we beep it and put a payment link in the description? If you want the question, you got to pay £5.
Take it. Just made that out for me, brother. Look, you say to the sister at the marriage meeting. You say to her, well, this question is so powerful. Even if she's pretending, she'll give herself away. Does that make sense? If I command you to do something that you do not want to do, and it is not haram, and it won't physically harm you, will you do it?
It depends.
No.
It depends.
Listen. Depends. It's a big. It's already.
She's out the door.
But look.
Depends on what,
No.
Exactly.
No. For her to say yes in that situation, and she's genuinely, she means it. Which again, you can do tests and see if she'll mean it.
How do you do tests?
I'll tell you.
Is there hesitation?
No, one second.
Go
But
on.
no. We live in a day and age. No, one second. We live in a day and age where you can't even expect a yes. I'm being real with you. I'm saying be happy if she says to you. If she says to you, for example. If she says to you, for example, she's still in the game. Because we live in a crazy day and age, bro, where women don't say yes. If she says to you, for example, right? And the reason I'll give her this excuse is because we live in a day where there are devil men. There are tyrants. And maybe she's had a deadbeat dad who didn't give her a good example of
Red
how...
pill movement as well and all
Right?
this nonsense. And
all of that. So I will give her the benefit of the doubt when she asked that question, for example. And then here is the killer example.
You just taught
This
the
is the
sisters
one.
how to answer
This is the one where you will know, my brother.
You give the sauce.
Say to her, look. For example, sister, you want the example? I tell you that I don't like you hanging around with that friend. I want you to never speak to her again because she's harmful for you. Will you obey me in that? Will you cut off that friend? That's the best example. And if she says
This
to you,
is such a crazy concept to me. bro.
yeah. If a woman is not prepared to leave her friend for her husband, and that's hard to do, huh? Oof. That woman
It shouldn't be hard. Because friend, husband.
I know, but
unfortunately, we live in a day and age where
Day and age,
husbands
You know?
is-
Yeah. but
what do
it's-
you do? What do you do? She says, but my friend, his name's Marcus. That's a different level problem. As a girl,
he's a
I
guy.
chat, their friends are guys, isn't it?
Oh my
But I'm
God.
saying that question right there, what, you don't like it?
Do you know what it is? Like, I don't think that's a difficult one. You see, I think I have to clarify something.
No, but for women it's difficult.
I think I have to clarify something.
Go on, please.
See, I'm Nigerian. All of this is just, it's like, this is standard. Like, this is
As
standard.
in amongst your women.
Like, this is not even something to discuss.
Even the ones raised in the West?
No, but I'm saying, yeah, if you come to
It better be.
It's
It
not.
better be.
it's 90. If you
It's
go,
not
if you
like
go
that.
into a marriage meeting with
It's not
expectation,
like
you're going to come out twisted.
Yeah, it's not.
I promise you, for me, the second there's any hesitation with that, I'm not interested. You have to know what type of guy you are.
But
have to know what you understand.
you also, there has to be a level of you know how they say,
Understand the work.
and yeah, you know how, like, for example, like, what's the saying, like, a scholar has to understand the people he's giving fatwa to, right? He has to understand their situation, who they are, whatnot.
Have you had any Western marriage meetings?
Bro, I have like 25, bro.
And the brother's still single.
Single by choice.
I'm saying so. But obviously, I know that. But obviously, maybe there may be an element of being a bit too.
I'll tell you why I disagree.
Stringent.
Again. It goes back to the same thing. What are you trying to build? If you're trying to be an average Joe, then go ahead. Go train the sister, spend all your time teaching her how to say yes and no. You know, for me, it's just, you have to see how she responds with her father and her brother. For me, especially the brother's important. Because if a woman doesn't listen to her brother and she has like a good brother, I'd like to make that clear, then there's a problem.
I've seen many girls who will never talk back to their dad, but they talk back to their husbands.
And the brother,
Say that again.
for me,
Possibly.
for
They talk
me,
back to their
that's why
husbands,
I
not
say
their
the dad
They will
one-
never talk back to their dad, but they talk back to their brother.
Yeah, but for me, the dad one, the dad is the dad, right? But if a woman listens to her brother and her parents trained her with that mindset that your brother has like a right over you, because when you look at majority of the girls in the West, brothers can't control them. Brothers have zero control in the relationship.
This might get bleeped.
No, but-
Yeah. One second, this might get bleeped.
Go on.
You're looking at things too black and white.
In most cases, when a woman, she is respectful to her father and not respectful to her husband, it's because she doesn't see someone with her father's haiba in her husband. Do you see what I mean? She sees a lesser of a man.
But also,
I agree with you. I think it was the man.
No, but also,
I'm telling you, like, as I looked at the situation, it wasn't.
Also, there's another issue here, which is as well. Remember, like,
Generally, I'm seeing.
she's not.
It's
gonna
like what Gabriel Romani said, man. He said, there's no, it's not black and white.
No,
like,
yeah, it's not. No, it's not black and white. But the thing is, like, remember, someone who might commit shirk isn't necessarily a mushrik. Someone who commits bid'ah isn't necessarily an innovator. Someone who might, in a particular situation, one time shows disobedience, but isn't actually a disobedient person. But if you're gonna say even one time, Fasi, the smallest, slightly, like she hesitates in her answer, she's gone. I'm saying actually, that's a bit too unrealistic there, in my personal opinion.
We were spicing up for the viewers. All right, is what I would say. Obviously, it's not one time, but for me, like I said, it's very, very easy to just tell a woman's characteristics. Like certain women, by nature, they're just defiant. I can't stand that.
Look,
right? Yeah, in their asl.
That's what I'm saying. You can clock a woman's asl.
Yeah, that you can clock from far away.
A woman who's like more reserved, even if she disagrees with something with you, she's just gonna like, look, he told me to do it, let me just do it. Even if she's uncomfortable, she might cry, give out to you later. But again, my point is there's different types of men and there's different types of women. Know what kind of man you are, marry the aligned kind of woman.
100%. But just make sure you're not looking for a Hura Ain on this earth because you're never gonna find her.
In your ancestors, did you have like a tribal chief?
Of course.
You did, right? Yeah, I knew that. That's why he's saying like she can't even say, she has to say yes quickly.
Look,
I knew it.
Can I mention something?
Tribal chief DNA. Yeah.
We need this now.
Can I mention something? Look, we've established there's a lot of sophistication to this. We understand principles. She's got to be obedient. She's got to be this. She's got to be this. But then, as you said, a person could do shirk and not be a mushrik. He could do kufr and not be a kafir. Could do bid'ah and not be a mubtadi. Could sin and not be a sinner. Right? Could obey and not be obedient, even the other way around. So there's a lot to it, and I think the best way to approach this is actually kind of like how our friend Wa'il approaches founders that he invests in. So I remember we had this conversation with him, and he mentions this a lot. That how do you find a founder that you're going to invest in, that you trust to take this business from where it is now to scaling it. So just to give context, he manages a fund of $160 million, and he takes massive amounts of money, millions of dollars, and he gives it to founders, right, of technology startups. So I asked him, how do you know? I think Bakr asked him, how do you know that this guy is going to take that 5 million and build this business to 100 million? Because he's basically taking his money and the wealth of all these wealthy people and trusting one guy, one young 19, 20, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29-year-old with this money. And he said to you, Imran, there is no checklist. I can tell you a bunch of principles and things that I look for. Because, but I've done this so many times that when I'm interviewing him, because I just get the sense, I just get the feeling. And it took about 10 minutes to explain this point. He was like, just to give all these different examples to show the point that, one guy could say one thing, but he even gave me the right answer, but there was something in his eyes, or there was something in the movement in his body, or the way that he said it, or the particular context, or maybe that was perfect, that body language, the answer, but that industry was wrong, right? Or it doesn't work in that industry. It's like the dynamic between him and his other partner, and his co-founder and his team, because there's so many different things. Because I just developed this innate understanding that I can't pen down in paper and checklists, but it's just through actually being a student of the game. Which is why I say it's essential for brothers to, number one, although I would love for you to do your first marriage meeting and marry that woman. And sometimes brothers do have their first marriage meeting, second marriage meeting, and then they find that woman and she's great, but usually that's not the norm. If you have a marriage meeting, that first marriage meeting, do not think that this is the woman I'm going to marry. Look at this as, okay, I'm going through the process. My first few marriage meetings are just me understanding women, understanding me, understanding what the game is, and also constantly be going to brothers who are successful in marriage, right? And asking them and getting their feedback. You should just be obsessed with getting as much input inside of your system so you can develop what the right output is in that mission.
We should make a playlist of all the relevant child mabais that they should go back and watch that we've done on these kind of topics.
Yeah.
I feel like that would be like if someone watches those.
Would something would not. Push
You're right.
as well.
You're right.
But what you said could be misinterpreted.
Go on.
When you said go to people who have been successful in marriages, what if he goes to the guy whose wife is wearing the pants and they've been married for 20 years, but the wife wears the trousers, he wears the skirt. But he views that guy as successful because they haven't been divorced and they're married for 20 years, they got 2 kids.
What he was saying...
See what I mean?
No, but I was going to even mention that. No, sometimes you go to a guy and he's not successful.
No, as in, what he was basically saying, and that's why I also said, come to Chama Bias, come to us.
Yeah, there you go. And I would
That's why I said Chama Bias. We'll make a playlist.
So you need to be clear. You need to be clear.
Gamer Romani, Alpha Muslim.
No, do you know what it is? We haven't even talked about asking her about her mission and her vision. And I think the quickest way to understand a human being is how they talk about the future. Is what?
Let me ask you.
I don't think that's an issue with women. I'll tell you why. Because sometimes the best woman is the one who's got no mission and you become a mission.
You give her the mission.
No, well, she's a great.
You sent her on the mission.
This is the one.
Sometimes she can't articulate it. No, she can't articulate it because she doesn't know what her mission is. But she's got all the characteristics of a woman that will make you her mission.
I'm gonna kill all his marriage options right now. You ready?
Go on.
How many kids you want your woman
40.
to have? See, I knew he was gonna say
From
that.
one woman.
Not from one woman. Come on.
How many women?
Between 4, inshallah. 4. Women's the game.
Allah back.
تعجبني والله. Everybody.
I'll tell you why, Sheikh. This for me is important.
This is the final point of the podcast.
Yeah, so this for me, I think has to be looked into. Like, when a woman is talking about the future and she's just talking about herself, you know what she's on.
Oh, not us, maybe. Maybe.
But this is what I mean. Why we have to ask her about what does the future look like. You know, I'd love to have a big house. I'd love to have it in a Muslim country. And I'd want to live here. And
But what's wrong with that? What's she come from a wealthy family?
Why hasn't she mentioned kids? I'm not saying there's anything wrong with why hasn't she mentioned kids?
Because you didn't let her finish the sentence. She mentioned 3 points, bro. She was about to mention the next one and you cut her off. You said, what's this?
You know my point, yeah?
Scream right now.
Scream as well.
Yeah. He's deep blue right now. He knows my point.
You know what's crazy? These women are getting so attracted to you right now. They're seriously.
With that said, hopefully you guys benefit. We'll see you in the next episode, inshallah. Subhanakallah wa bihamdik. Ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Assalamu alaikum.
Why don't you leave it to the 4th thing to mention kids?
That's gonna be the sickest hook. Hey, did you get the last one at the end? Oh my gosh.
That's the start. That's the hook.
Bro, you started it with Arman so nice and Canadian-like, and then Nigeria took
In case you ever wanted to move to Dubai, I've got something very special for you. As you may be aware, myself and Abu Bakr moved to Dubai and Sharjah last year. It was one of the best decisions that we ever made for our deen, our families, and our businesses. Living here is amazing. You've got a masjid in almost every single street, unparalleled safety and security. You've got lessons from mashayikh and different teachers and students of knowledge in English and Arabic, and no income tax. Now, how do you move here? That's a question that you might be asking. Well, it can be tough if you don't know your way around things. Sometimes the companies that help you get visas here, they got hidden fees, long waits, big problems, resulting in visa rejections, a lot of wasted money and time. This is where Ansar Consultants comes into play. They helped us set up everything. No hidden fees, no long waits. They kept it simple and honest. I got my visa in less than a month. And these guys have a 100% track record helping brothers get their visa so far. 100% track record, that's insane. Allahumma barik. Now, if you're thinking of moving to the UAE, I recommend Ansar Consultants. They can even help you invest in properties here with a 100% Sharia compliant contract. So if you want a smooth move like we did, click the link below and check out Ansar Consultants.